to Laura Carmichael and Hugh Bonneville. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, we've done quite a few of these events celebrating Downton Abbey at the Apple Store with special Apple iTunes events, but this will be the last one, certainly in London, and I guess you're kind of winding up the whole experience. This has been a huge part of your lives for the last 6 or 7 years. How does it feel right now?
Well, we're going on a sort of world tour of Apple stores, really, just to bring things to a close. It does feel like the end. I mean, that trailer really, when it first came out, we thought, well, that really is final.
Yeah.
So we've had a wonderful time over 6 years, and they've sort of flown by, but it's definitely the right time to quit while we're ahead.
And how does it feel for you, Laura, like kind of when you're in the process, I guess, of saying a fairly long goodbye, but to this show?
Yeah, we have every location that we wrapped on, we had a different party. So
Right.
I think we've really milked it. But it's really emotional. We were very emotional filming all of the last scenes and wrapping different characters. But it is nice that we have this time when it's airing, and it airs later in the States, so we'll do promotion later there as well. So we kind of still see each other. It won't be till next year when we suddenly feel bereft properly.
In fact, marking the final scenes that everyone shot has already started, because for various reasons, Elizabeth, who plays Cora, her final scene was in the episode that aired last week, one of the dining room scenes. And when I saw that come up, I suddenly remembered that was one of the last scenes we actually shot, wasn't it?
Oh, wow.
On location. So we're all ticking them off one by one now.
Yeah. So as we speak right now, we should say, when people are listening to this, that we're about to see the final episode of the season, final normal episode of the series, which is coming up on Sunday on ITV at 9 o'clock. And then there's the Christmas Day traditional. So that's the absolute finale, that episode. But there's a kind of, I'm lucky enough to have seen the this Sunday's episode, and it does have a feeling of a lot of things happening. We're building up your character, for example. There's this is she or isn't she going to get married to this lovely man? How's she kind of feeling right now, kind of as we near the end of her story?
Well, she's delighted, I think. She's very much in love with Bertie and wants to marry him, but she's worried about Marigold and will she be allowed to live with them? Should she tell him the truth, etc.
How did it work with Julian Fellowes, the writer of the whole thing? It struck me that watching that episode that goes on Sunday, that it feels like the whole thing has been building up to this, like 6 years of episodes have been building up to, what he's got in store for you all, I guess. But it definitely feels, certainly for you, that this romance is like you really deserve to have some happiness and romance in your life, don't you?
I think people do want to see Edith married, happily. But it's nice that has been this ongoing arc.
Yeah, but don't forget, her nickname is Poor Edith,
exactly.
So it's not going to be a smooth path, whichever way.
Absolutely, and I don't think, he doesn't disappoint Julian.
No. Did you talk to him about how much do you communicate to him about what he has in store when things are wrapping up? Do you know? Or did you read the script?
Well, we read the first 5 came through in whatever it was, January or so, and there were a couple of things within my storyline that I just commented about. I think, along with some of the nation, I was slightly confused about the hospital plot and was wondering where it was going. And I'm delighted to say it's still there in episode 8. And also, when I read for those, there's a spoiler for those who haven't seen this series yet. But what happened in episode 5? With Robert's illness.
Yes.
When I read that, I had to read it twice because I thought I said this could be a great coup de télé, because everyone saw that something was coming to Robert, and everyone was thinking maybe he was going to have a heart attack or be carted off to hospital in the final episode, and then so that was a wonderful shock. And there's some more to come actually.
We've got to talk about that scene, because that is one of the most extraordinary scenes in history, not only of Downton Abbey, but of British television. It's become known as the alien scene, I believe.
That's how we refer to it.
Yeah, so your ulcer burst and literally blood. It was, and I was warned as a TV critic, publicists say there's a big thing coming up and you have to sign everything saying you're not going to give it away. But even then, I was stunned and shocked. So How was the film? Was it fun filming it in a way? I mean,
It was. We rehearsed it meticulously in a sort of aircraft hangar with sort of safety people around almost. No, we rehearsed it at Ealing Studios a few weeks before, and the biggest concern was getting the colour of the blood right, because we know that there are very keen followers of Downton Abbey oddities and any mistakes. So we had a doctor, to go through it with us, so that the first spout of blood is darker than the second, because the first. When an ulcer bursts, I hope none of you have eaten yet. When an ulcer, is burst, it pools blood in the stomach, and so that has a darker colour when it first comes out. But from then on, it's pumping blood, so that is a richer red. And so our makeup artist was, playing with the different colour tones as we spattered it over white cloths in Ealing Studios, with lots of people taking photographs from different angles and working out how to do it most economically, because obviously resetting the dining table of the white cloth at Highclere takes 40 minutes. So in the end, and also how to make it a good dramatic effect. And also my biggest concern was how much could I get on Elizabeth McGovern.
Right.
I mean, it was very funny.
Poor Elizabeth McGovern, yeah.
Hugh really, really tried to cover Elizabeth, and none of us expected that he would get that far, but she was covered.
Did you get splattered at all? Did you?
No,
No.
I was safe.
You were out of the
I was sort of to your right, I think. But
Famously in Alien, Ridley Scott, the director, didn't tell the rest of the cast that John Hurt's stomach was, but you were all told what was going to happen.
We were, but we didn't know it was going to be as explosive as it was, I don't think. So we still are quite genuinely shocked, I think.
Yeah. This whole thing with this poor kid is just ruining her life, but she's met this wonderful man. The other thing, of course, is this Lady Mary battle.
Yes.
I think it's safe to say is reaching ahead, a very interesting head. How is that for you to act that with Michelle Dockery, and how do you get on, and is it fun that you two of you, kind of the war between the two of you is building up, isn't it?
Yeah, we love it. Michelle and I are very close friends, so it's really fun to play those scenes where we are awful to one another. It's quite fun. And I think, knowing it was the last series, we wanted them to have a moment where they would say all the things they want to say, or, either clash or make up. And I think, as you can see through the previous episodes, Mary is starting to get a bit suspicious about Marigold.
Yes.
Which is dangerous.
Yeah, she's the only person in the world who doesn't know, isn't she? Really, pretty much.
That's it. And it's simply because she doesn't pay Edith enough attention, I don't think. She doesn't care enough. But yeah, that's sort of been bubbling away.
What really struck me just looking at that clip, when I talk about the costumes, particularly for the ladies, I think Anna's done an amazing job this year in pulling out even more. Every scene that you girls seem to have another stunning outfit. I think it looks great.
Well, and she thinks about where we're going to be filming. So in that, my blouse matches the meadow. It's sort of ridiculous, but. The dress that Mary wears in the Criterion matches the ceiling in the Criterion, and it's so thoughtful.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention that because I think this series, it feels like as the show's going on that it gets visually more lavish and more kind of beautiful. Does it seem that was that a deliberate thing? Was that a thing that maybe it was just more money? I don't know.
I don't think it was more money. Certainly more ambition, I think. Yeah. And there's more money on the screen. There's no question about that. And I think as the confidence grew, and we've had 3 costume designers. One was sort of promoted from within. And then Anna came on board in the last 2 seasons, and she's stepped up a gear again. Particularly, I think, with the fashions changing as fast as they did in that period for women particularly, and it does look more sumptuous. It's stunning, I think.
And in terms of the big themes, I guess, of this final series, it feels like Julian Fellowes is definitely establishing clearly that this is a kind of a very important time for the whole aristocracy and having servants and that whole thing that is kind of winding down to a certain extent. You had to have members of the public coming in to the house in all of this. That's an interesting kind of thing to deal with, isn't it, for the show? Because a lot of people kind of think it's a celebration of the ups and downs. But this is clearly showing that it's all getting a bit sad for everyone, really. Does it feel that way to you?
it's certainly, well, obviously the thing of opening the house, and God forbid this should ever happen for real sort of thing, is obviously a knowing wink at what happens to most big houses these days just to keep functioning. Highclere being a prime example. But I think Julian is very even-handed. Yes, he does celebrate this world and clearly loves it, but he's not shy of, pointing out its faults and that this is an end of an era. Yeah.
And I think that, that was sort of Julian's intention with the show initially. In the first stage direction was to kind of highlight how this was the beginning of the end for houses like this. So I think it's obviously grown as we've gone along.
There was a lovely scene in that episode where the public were coming in and a little boy, and you were ill in bed, and the little boy wanders in randomly. I thought that was a great little moment.
Wasn't he good as well?
Brilliant.
So good.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's one of my favourite scenes, actually, because, this little out of the mouths of babes, so why are you living in a big house like this? Why can't you live in a normal house, And I think it's a fair point, why do we live with all this? And it's just, this sense of the great tradition of these big estates, these big houses coming to an end. And, I think it's really flagged up, especially in that first episode when we go over to Mallerton to see Sir John Darnley's estate literally being sold off piecemeal, and that is the way that so many of these estates ended up, the family silver being sold.
And do you think, in terms of Robert's story, that he's clearly becoming more, I think, thinking more about the staff and thinking more about his relationship with the servants and all of that? That's clear, isn't it, coming up, especially as we reach the end of the series?
I think so. Yeah, he's having to scale back a bit, and taking a long time to get rid of poor old Thomas, the under butler. But yeah, he can see the writing on the wall. He's always been slow to catch up, but once he gets the point, he does embrace change. Yeah.
It's a relief to have a dog not called Isis now, a new dog.
You won't good Tio, yes. I'd like to put to bed any thought that the dog met its demise because of its name. That was not the case. As I'm sure the astute members of this particular audience know, television shows are written many months in advance of international events. And in fact, it was something I did suggest to Julian. I said, we're all, not aging in the show very significantly, but this dog is now should be getting really quite old. Yeah. And that might be a fun storyline not a fun storyline, but it might be a storyline to explore. And so he went with that, and we lost poor Isis, but now we have lovely little Tio, who's very sweet.
He does seem a very cute dog.
She's a bitch.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And did you see Dame Maggie on Graham Norton a couple of weeks ago? She was in tremendous form.
Yes.
And what struck me about, she's not in this episode particularly, but she's back in the series, which is probably off filming, I imagine, or something like that. I don't know, that's my guess.
I can't remember what I think she wanted to lie down.
Fair enough. But I think she's got more feisty, more stronger, funnier, everything as the series has gone on, and now just has some extraordinary scenes in this final episode. What's your favourite experience of acting with Dame Maggie?
I think the most memorable for me was my first, because I was absolutely wetting my pants. And it's the scene when she, in episode 1 of the first series, where she shields her hand against the lights with this newfangled thing called electricity, which we've had put into the ground floor rooms. And she said it's like being on stage at the Gaiety Theatre, And in the stage direction, it said she shields her face from the light for a moment, but she brought out her fan and held it there for the entire scene. It was just brilliantly comic and just really set the tone for everything that she's done since. She's a legend. She's so quick. Her mind is quicksilver, and she can sell a line like no one else.
Yeah. Laura, what's your favourite memory?
I don't know really. I'm trying to think because they're all really great, and she really makes me laugh, and I really enjoy trying to make her laugh, and so that's sort of true of all of it, really. I got into a habit of finding funny animal pictures on the internet and storing them to show to Maggie, because I showed her a cat picture once and she loved it, and when she got a bit fed up, she would say, show me the cat, and I'd get my phone out and find it. So yeah, just too many happy memories, really.
How long ago did you film your last scenes? Was it a few months
I finished on August the 10th, so what's that, a couple of months
a
ago?
couple of months ago. And how did it feel? Well, did it? Was there a tear in your eye? What was the?
Well, you and Michelle had a moment at Highclere, didn't you? When
Yeah.
we finished in July at Highclere.
Yeah. Yeah, we walked through the house crying.
Okay.
Then sat on the bench and cried. It was really surreal, and that particularly saying goodbye to the house, because it instantly felt like someone else's home again, and for a while, for 6 years, it felt like our home or office or something, and which is very clearly not that again.
Yeah.
I did my last scene with Michelle, which was rather nice because I think I did my first scene with her as well, and so we had a nice little quartet scene. And then I was fine. I thought, oh, that's it, another job done. And I got into the makeup chair and started taking the makeup off, and I saw all the sort of picture references around the mirrors and all the sort of snapshots that had been taken over the course of this last series. And I did have a little dust in my eye for a moment.
Good.
Jim Carter, big old bluff Yorkshireman Jim Carter,
really?
broke down in sobs.
Really? Wow, that's interesting. So was Jim the most emotional of all of you?
No.
Rank the whole cast in terms of mate.
No, he was. I think they were doing it was a very nice scene to end on. I think they scheduled it purposely, that it was a group scene with from downstairs, and it ended in, the scene was quite emotional. And I think when Jim heard that's a wrap, and that's a wrap on X, Y, Z and A, B and C from the cast, I think that's when it hit him. And when he saw Bobby the Grip,
Yeah.
there was a big, burly, stocky Welshman in tears. That set Jim off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you have the grip of tears, that's
Yeah.
big. Yeah.
Our grips are always crying though. And I
Oh,
think but no, yeah, they were grown men weeping.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know if when it came to when you read the final scripts and you read whatever was in store for your characters, what was your? I mean, I don't want you to give anything away, but what was your feeling, honestly?
I have on my iPhone as the script was handed to me, it was a day at Highclere Castle, and I gave one of the ADs my phone. I said, right, film me, because I'm now going to turn to the last page.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to know, what happened. I read the last scene, and it's quite, well, I'm not going to say anything, but my reaction was appropriate to the result.
Interesting. And you, and Laura?
Yeah, I can't even remember. It was sort of, it felt very significant. I think it ends really beautifully. I think Julian does a really great job. And I think as this series has gone on, I think it heats up and it leads to a big explosion in a way that I think people will feel satisfied, or I hope, it's been a big thing.
But as always, as Julian's always reflected on in each series, each episode, really, that some stories in life are never finished, or are left unfinished, or are better left unfinished.
Sure.
But I certainly choked up when I did sit down and read it properly. I certainly choked up as much because I knew this was the last time I'd be reading. They've always been such a pleasure to read, as much as anything. And this was my last experience of ever reading one of these. And there's been 52 of them, which I know by American standards is nothing, but it's been 52 episodes of our lives.
Do you know whether he had his plan for the ending of the series in mind? For a long time, or do you know? Did you speak to him about that, or
Well, as some people probably know, we were due to finish after Series 5, and it was during that, or was it the end of Series 4? I can't remember. Anyway, at some point, he actually said, I don't think I can bring this into land in a way that would satisfy me and the audience. It would feel too rushed, and so that's why we agreed to do a 6th. So rather than people saying show's being cancelled, actually it was extended, and so it gave him time to breathe, right, and let him play with the characters' futures in the way that he felt best.
And did you ever talk to him, Laura, about the way the arc of your character, or do you let him kind of do what he wants and then you act it?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely tried at points and failed. So I gave up after a while. But he always comes up with wonderful storylines, and he's going to lead it in an exciting way. And so there's not much I would have really wanted to change ever.
Sure. And lately it has become a bit of a kind of feminist kind of icon. I'm using the word icon, I've just mentioned, but
sure,
in this series with the news, with the magazine, and it's kind of that I never expected that to happen really. And I think he does. often I think people don't necessarily give him credit, but he explores these things: racism, homosexuality, feminism. It's all there, isn't it? These themes that he explores.
Yeah, well, and I think it's such a fascinating time for women. You know, the 10 years that we've spanned, more than that, 13 years, and so I think that's going to be reflected in the female characters. But yeah, I think it's fascinating what's happened to Edith. But she would have been the most traditional. I think she would have been very happy to marry a lord in season 1, but it was not to be, and that sort of has led her to be more interesting, which I've loved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's got more and more kind of interesting as it's gone on, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And what's it been like being a daughter of Hugh over these years?
It's been lovely. It's been really lovely. We do feel like family. It is funny.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth as well. We are very close, and I've loved it.
Oh. And since we're nearing the end, I'm going to ask you a couple of things. So, what's your favourite memory of the whole filming period of the whole 6 years? Can you think of a scene or a storyline that strikes you?
I don't know why, but I've loved when we filmed in Alnwick for some reason. The atmosphere up in Alnwick Castle was astonishing. We go there again in the Christmas episode. Not only the welcome we got there, but just the atmosphere of the place, and also because it meant that we were all together, on tour, so to speak. And the people of Alnwick were incredibly welcoming. And in terms of specific scenes. Well, actually, I do remember, it was a soggy memory. It was when we were shooting the grouse last year, and we literally went from hail in the morning to sort of bright sunshine to deep, dense fog to mist to rain, all in one day. And I remember thinking, we'll never be able to they'll never cut this together. Yeah. And of course, you watch it and it looks absolutely fine. But that was it. I've got, memories of everyone huddled under umbrellas with the sort of tweed and wool coats, absolutely black with rain on them. That was memorable, probably for the wrong reasons. But what about you?
I think maybe the garden party in season 1, just because there was something that happened by that point in filming. We were on our 8th episode, and we could kind of feel that it was probably going to be quite good, or that it would be okay. It was going quite well, and we really, were getting on very well, and it was a sunny day and a great scene. And I think we were excited with what we'd done. So I've got very happy memories of that day.
And we shot, in fact, that was 3 days, wasn't it? That whole sequence of the garden party when war is announced at the end of season 1. And we were blessed. In fact, we've been blessed so often by the weather. We had to postpone the cricket match in season 3 times because of rain, and because it was a 3-day sequence. And it was raining. The rain stopped just as we started filming, and the rain started just as we finished day 3. And similarly with the garden party in season 1, we had three days of beautiful weather, not too sun drenched, which of course isn't great for filming, but with a consistent light, and it had that pre-war, when everything was golden and perfect, and then this news came, and everything was going to change, and of course none of us knew that we were going to do a second series, so.
No.
It had a finality about it.
And at what point, it has become a cultural phenomenon, not only in this country, but in America, particularly extraordinary response over there. At what point did you kind of realise this is really something huge, and that I guess it's kind of changed your life in a way?
I don't know, because it just continues to surprise me and snowball.
Yeah.
I remember Sophie McShearer, who plays Daisy, telling me that Joan Rivers had tweeted about it. That was quite early on in the first airing of season 1. So that felt really exciting, and you thought, oh gosh, people might watch it over there. But that's really how we felt about it. So I don't know when we realised how big of a deal it was.
I think well, when the figures went up for episode 2, which rarely happens because normally, the publicity means you get a certain audience for the first episode, and then those who like it stay, and those who don't, it normally drops off by, 20% as an average, I guess. Ours went up by 10 or 15%, and then it grew and grew and grew. So that started being a bit interesting. And then it was really when a lad came up to me in my boys' playground at school, and he was about 10 at the time. And this particular boy, and he said, "I don't like that Thomas." And I thought, I thought, you're 10 and you're watching Downton. And then gradually you started to realise that the demographic for the show was extraordinarily broad. It wasn't just your normal, if you like, Sunday night costume drama audience. It had spread to teenagers and young kids, and that families were watching it together. And that's one of the consistent things that people have said, that they can watch it as a family, apart from maybe one or two scenes. But but it has brought, you know, grannies and grandchildren and children together.
Absolutely. And when you're in America, you get feted by politicians and all sorts. Who are your favourite celebrity fans of the show?
I don't know. You've been to the White House. That's
yes.
that's
The First Lady's a big fan, and when we were there, actually, it was John Kerry, who's now Secretary of State. He came over to say hello to Elizabeth and myself, and he said that he hadn't been sleeping well a few weeks before, and so he'd sort of stuck on this DVD at about 3 a.m. that his wife had been watching. She hadn't taken any notice of, and he said, I was still there at 10 a.m. I was hooked, and so that's quite strange when you see people like that getting involved in it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think being part of, like, going over the awards stuff has been super fun, because you do meet the cast of Mad Men and the cast of Game of Thrones, and so you do end up sort of meeting them, and that's been amazing to be considered in amongst their dramas. So that's been really lovely.
Yeah, because year in year out you've been nominated for Golden Globes and Emmys and all of this stuff. Yeah,
it's been amazing.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw it open to the audience. We've got time for questions. Before I do, my final question: there's always rumours of a film. Is that? Can you give us an exclusive? Any news on that?
Absolutely no idea. Genuinely, I think we're all ready just to celebrate the end of it. And if in time Julian puts his pen to paper and comes up with a script that, as he said himself, the delicate thing is it can't just be another episode, because then it's not cinematic. And if it's too cinematic, then people say, well, where's Downton Abbey gone? So it's a very tough tightrope to walk. And if anyone can pull it off, it's the Oscar-winning writer of Gosford Park. So he could always write Gosford Park again.
Yeah,
he could do that.
Yeah, just do Gosford Park 2. Yeah. That'd work.
Yeah,
would you be up for it if there was a film? I
mean, it will be really interesting in terms of when he's able to do it. He's so busy, Julian. He's got 5 new shows starting, and he's doing a play on Broadway. I mean, all sorts. We'll see. But I'm sure you'll love to get back together and do it again.
Before, one more thing. You've got your film Burn, 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 which got nominated for a British Independent Film Award this
week.
Yes,
it did.
Very
Thank
exciting.
you very much.
Yes, and what can you tell us about that film? It looks fascinating. It looks very exciting.
It's great fun. It was really nice to do something very different. It's a comedy. It's a road movie. 2 girls are scattering the ashes of their dead friend. But it is a comedy, and they meet some odd and interesting British characters along the way. I loved it, and I'm very proud of it. So I'm excited about the Biffa. It's great.
And you played Lord Mountbatten in a film coming up, is that?
Yeah, from one Earl to a Viscount. I've just finished a film in India directed by Gurinder Chadha, who made Bend It Like Beckham, called Viceroy's House, and it's about the final days of British India. And it's in structure, it's not unlike Downton, in that there's the political front cloth going on upstairs with Nehru and Gandhi and Jinnah and the whole political machinations that were happening. But the real heart of the story is what's happening in the kitchens and backstage, as between the servants, and of course as the tensions build and the country begins to fracture, so does the house, the staff. And so Gillian Anderson and I play Lord and Lady Mountbatten. Yeah.
Wow, that's very exciting. Right, let's start with the audience. And we've got mics, so if you put your hand up, if you have a question, and we'll get a mic to you.
Hello. It's a 2-part question, I guess. What aspect of the 1920s, particularly aristocratic lifestyle, would you like to incorporate into your life, if you would? And then conversely, what part of modern life are you particularly thankful for in comparison?
I would like hats to come back. I think hats, particularly on men. I don't understand why. What happened? I think those are lovely. And my grandpa always used to wear hats, so I like people to start wearing hats again. But then what would I not like? I mean, I guess I love, the freedoms that we have today, and that it isn't a strange thing for a woman to own a newspaper. I feel very pleased to have been born in this time, despite there being less hats.
I'm with you on the hats. I think
You were rocking a hat earlier, I think.
I have a hat.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm bringing it back, Laura. It's all down to me.
Yeah.
I think I like the pace of life. The fact that you can't be got in touch with so instantly and immediately. I think. Even though Edith does seem to go up and down to London, faster than an intercity train, I do like that. I do like that sense that you can't quite be got at as easily as we can now all connect. And of course, we're here we're sitting in the hub of connectivity. So I would not miss the technology that we now have, and the solitude. And there was one day, actually, you were asking about favourite moments. There was one day in series 1 when, after the ash cloud had been in Iceland, wasn't it? And so there was a no-fly zone for whatever 2 weeks or so, and so the sky was absolutely clear. And Maggie and I were out on the lawn doing a scene, and she said, "This is what it would have been like, of course." And you realise then how much of our lives is taken up with background white noise or white images of vapour trails and everything else. So I think that just that sense of simplicity, but that's crazy also because I'm blessed to live in the world with all the technological advances that we have. So I wouldn't like to live in those times, but I like to spend a Sunday night there.
As we all do. Yes, who's next? Oh yes, just there towards the back.
Where did you film in London specifically, and how did you enjoy filming in London as opposed to Highclere?
Well, it's nice to be in London because I live in London, so it's nice for me. And it's very exciting when you're filming here because they close roads. We film at odd hours of the night often. And yeah, we've shot in a couple of places. We shot in Rules, not very far in fact, just on Maiden Lane. Go there, it's very nice. Which is one of the oldest restaurants in London, I think. And has remained the same. It's also in James Bond, I saw the other day. And the Criterion by Piccadilly, which is another beautiful restaurant. And where else have we been?
Well, we filmed in, I can't remember the name of the house, but it doubled as the Buckingham Palace, and it's at the end of Pall Mall. When if you
By the IOD.
it's just before you turn up. St James's Street, I think it is. Anyway, if you carry on there, there's a whole little world down the end of Pall Mall. And in there is this particular building, which I think was the same architect as Buckingham Palace, with these palatial rooms. Can't remember the name of the house now, but so that was rather stunning to film in when in the Christmas special of season 4, when Lady Rose was presented to the King. So that was rather magnificent. Where else have we filmed on the street?
There are some more that I'm not going to tell you because they're to come. In the next few episodes. But yeah, it's really exciting filming in the capital, and you get, crowds of people wondering what's going on. Oh, we did St Pancras as well. That was very clever. Because I was wondering how on earth are they going to do this as the Eurostar there. But they put up a bit of fake wall here and a prop fence there, and they magicked it. But we come out, Edith got off the train and was met by Gregson, and they walk out and get into a cab. So it's very impressive.
That's great. Thank you. Great question.
Is there a lesson that your character learned in the series that you keep with you personally?
But a good question. You stumped them.
I mean, Edith is sort of, she's very brave despite all of the knocks. The day after being jilted, there's that moment where she says, I'm going to get up for breakfast. And Julian always says that about her, that she is resilient and she wants something for her life, and she'll pursue it despite the knocks. So I guess that's quite a nice thing to remember.
I think, two things really, I suppose. One is that the women are always right, or it's easier just to play life that way. But also, I think the thing I've always liked about Robert is that for all his errors and mistakes and misjudgments, he's got a great sense of compassion. and tolerance. And I think that is something worth hanging on to.
What is the worst mishap or disaster that's happened on set?
Well, actually, there, with the new puppy, Tio, there's a time jump in one of the episodes coming up. And it's I can't remember, it's a few months. So we had to have 2 different puppies. Unfortunately, the animal trainer hadn't got quite the right message. And this, what looked to me like 2-year-old dog turned up. It's meant to go from 3 months to whatever, 6 or 7 months. And unfortunately, we were stuck. We had to film with it because there was only one dog in the van. So we did have to then go and shoot a pickup shot and insert it into the scene a bit later with the right sized puppy. That was a bit of a mistake. It was a. Were you there that day? I can't remember.
Well, I witnessed the dog being shot on green screen.
Yes.
I think you witnessed the dog being shot there.
Yeah.
That's going too
too
far.
big. We'll just have to know. Not at all.
That wasn't very good. I do remember Asparagus Gate, which was my fault in series 1, where we were going to shoot a scene with eating asparagus, and I suddenly got nervous about, because obviously you use your fingers these days, and I thought, what if it was different then? And it was the one day that our wonderful historical advisor, the Oracle, Alistair Bruce, wasn't there. So we were trying to phone him. He was up in a Sky helicopter, commentating on some royal thing, I think, and we couldn't reach him. So as it turns out, the etiquette was that you did use your fingers, but I wasn't convinced, and so we ended up chopping all the asparagus up and pretending they were beans instead.
Yeah. And obviously, Hugh and I had the water bottle.
Yes.
Water bottle gate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that, I mean, it wasn't as much of a disaster as it turned into, but it would have been cropped, that photo, to not include the water bottle. That was the plan.
Yeah.
Slightly
slipped through. But good came out of it because I'm now an ambassador for WaterAid on the back of that. And I've just been, when I was out in India, I went and saw a couple of WaterAid projects, and we're launching a campaign next week. So, wasn't that big a mistake.
Did that really come out of the water?
Absolutely.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, because as many of you will know, there was this water bottle on a shot of me and Laura in the drawing room, and so that sort of went viral. And it so happened that it was published on the day that we were all doing press conferences, so we were all together. So the next day we all got a water bottle and said donate to WaterAid, and then they got in touch and said would I work with them. So that's been great.
That's brilliant. Well, what I can do is thank you all very much for coming, and thanks for your great questions, and thanks to Laura Carmichael and Hugh Bonneville.